What's up, guys? Matt here, coming at you with a quick look at some of the best, in my opinion, upgrades for this new FCX18. So you can see quite a bit of stuff going on already here, but I just wanted to kind of touch on some of the things I've done to this truck and kind of show you why I did it. And then we're just going to run this thing and let you kind of see it in action. Obviously, I've put some brass. Now, it didn't need a ton, but I had this stuff around. I've got the trail inner and outer portal covers on the front. And then on the back, I had these Samix, which had these sort of tuning weights for the inside. These are very nice. Samix stuff is expensive, but it's usually very, very good. And so I just slapped these on. You can kind of separate this weight here if you don't think you need it. So I'm gonna run it kind of as it is with those on because I already had them installed. We'll see how it does. And then I made these kind of shock mounts basically just out of a bunch of servo arms I had around that I never used. Now, I haven't really ran this too much with it the way it is here now. You can see it's definitely limited my travel. I'm still getting full travel out of my shock though before I like bottom out here. So I don't really think I lost too much travel, and it just lowered everything down quite a bit. Now I may still play around with this because they're just kind of rigged on there right now, to be honest. I need to maybe cut this tab off like right here so that that will push back and set a little more flush, and I can screw my shock screw all the way in because I kind of just have it started in there right now because I am hitting that screw. Everything seems to still be moving nice and smooth, but that's why we're gonna go run it and kind of see how it does. But by doing that, it just brought the mounts up, which lowered the entire thing. Now, maybe that's not going to help my clearance down here, and I'm not gonna like it, I don't know. But in my opinion, it looked like we just had way too much space between the fenders, the wheel wells, and the tires. And then I was gonna go with a slightly, maybe smaller tire on here. We'll check those out in a minute. So I wanted to close that gap a little bit, and this was just an attempt at playing around with that. But really all I did was cut these things. I drilled them out a little bit so I could run this screw in here. I needed them to mount at the bottom and here just so it wasn't rolling on me all the time. And then I run the shock into the top. That's why I save all of those, because they come in handy for goofy stuff like that. And then one of the other main things that anybody can do that's really free when you get one of these is fix your steering, because I noticed, for one, on the FCX, if you guys don't know, on those axles, we always move the screw that is here to the back side. So this screw is normally up here stock. Move that to the back. That's gonna allow you a little more clearance. And you can see that rod end, it hits right there where that screw normally is anyways. So with that screw there, you're stopping your steering right around there. And see, we've gained that much extra. Now on this truck, this front steering link that they've put on here was actually hitting the diff cover right here. And even once I moved that screw, I was still stopping like right in there somewhere because that steering link was hitting the diff cover and it wouldn't allow it to go any farther. So I actually just kind of took that off and bent it a little bit. I kind of did it by hand, honestly. I was afraid I was gonna break it, but it did bend, and you can see now, well, when I have power, I get full travel out of that. I'm now bottoming out right there. So that's all we're gonna get. But I gained quite a bit of steering by that, because before I was stopping right around in there. You can see that gap there. And now I'm getting all of that. I mean, at best, I was right there probably, and I'm gaining all of that. So quite a bit of gain there. Now, obviously, if we change out this servo and get rid of the servo saver, that'll probably help our steering be a little bit more responsive, you know. But I did tighten that screw a little bit on that spring to kind of clamp it down a little more. So I'm going to run the stock servo for a good little bit. I'm trying to not put a ton of money in this and just have fun with it. But I really think this is all I'm going to do for now. I'm probably going to paint these. I kind of just left them white really so they were easier for you to see on the video. And I was just kind of testing them out. So if they work out well, then I will paint those, use a Sharpie on them, something, just so they don't look so obvious there. But until I can maybe like design a 3D print piece or something to fit in there, or somebody else does it for me, these will work. So I just thought I would show you guys that. Absolutely loving this rig. So let's throw some wheels and tires on here, and then we'll just go run this thing. One other tip before we start running this thing like it is, be careful with your front bumper. So it was really my fault, but I grabbed this thing, it got hung up, and I kind of grabbed it by the front bumper to move it, and I kind of lifted with it, and you can see the crack right there next to the screw. It actually just kind of bent. It didn't break off, it's just weakened. And so this is normally kind of tucked underneath the truck. It just popped out like this, and it stayed on, and I popped it back, and I thought that was just it, but it did definitely weaken that point. So be careful with this front bumper. I mean, technically it was really my fault. I'm hoping that will stay together, but if not, I'm going to be looking for bumper options. So maybe we'll be doing an upgraded bumper soon. I don't know, but just a little heads up, be careful with that front bumper. This thing definitely performs better with just a few simple mods. You know, the inner and outer portal covers, the outer portal covers on the rear with those tuning weights like you've seen, and then just wheels and tires. I do have flubs in the front tires on this, and then just the foams that come with these tires on the rear. With the weight of this truck, I may consider some flubs or some pine trees or whatever from Ccxrc in the rear. He came out with a smaller set of those, so I may have a set of those that will fit these tires as well. I may look at changing that up, but overall, this thing's performing really well. Only thing I think at this point I'll probably do down the road is a servo, really just to kind of get rid of that servo saver. I've tightened that screw down as much as possible, and it still sometimes just isn't quite enough. But it's really good for a stock servo. I don't want to knock it too hard. It's just I'm a big servo snob. Like, if I get in a spot and I turn the servo and it doesn't turn the wheels, like, I'm aggravated. So you know, it will get most people by for sure. Definitely just kind of trailing, and even this sort of stuff, it did pretty well. You can see the truck wouldn't even really attempt a lot of this stuff stock, especially when I get on my home course. You'll see I put a little bit of side-by-side in there just so you can see it in stock form, but you can see that rear foam kind of folding there for sure. So at times we're losing a little bit of our grip, and you know, we're sliding on side hill with that. So that's something to consider. Right here, the hitch on the back sometimes wants to catch quite a bit when you're in a spot like that. Now here, I actually had removed the rear bumper, went out to go crawl, forgot I didn't even put it back on. So I don't even have the back bumper on at this point right here. So it was just kind of catching the tire. I did eventually remove the tire from the back. You know, if I'm going to leave this as a more performance based scaler, I will leave the tire off. I may go ahead and put it back on just because I think it looks really good with it on there. And I'm thinking I may add like a few accessories to the roof rack on this anyways. And so it's going to lose performance, you know, the more scale stuff I add like that. But I think it's going to look better. And I'm not like trying to get this to go out and compete with some of my heavy duty rock crawlers. I really want it to perform as well as possible while keeping a pretty scale identity. You know, otherwise I would just remove the hard body altogether. But here you'll see stock form on the right and then modded on the left. I didn't run maybe the exact same line, but tried to kind of go close, and I think you can tell it just definitely handles all of this better now that it's slightly modded. So you can see there, it handled that climb slightly better. That's a little bit more about clearance, which I haven't really addressed much on this yet. It would probably help to bend the links a little bit or just put some high clearance links on. This climb right here, you'll see it handled this very well after the mods, whereas I really couldn't even get started up that. In stock form, I just looped out. So definitely much better there. Going downhill, it's a lot better. Still not perfect, but you know, a hard body, anytime you've got a hard body, like, you're either really going to have to put a ton of weight on it or it's just not going to make things like that. That is pretty steep right there at that point that it looped out. So I'm fine with it looping out there, because for a more scale truck, that's just okay in my opinion. Here, the traction of these Swampers, I love these tires, especially on something like this. They just have a really good look in my opinion, and they work really well. They're a good size, and they definitely just handled this a lot better. I couldn't get the traction with the stock tires, and then the front was just very tipsy. Now that I have the weight added, definitely handled that much better. Going down that as well in stock form, it really didn't handle that too well. So I kind of cut some of this stuff out because it didn't really match up, you know, and it's hard to put it all together. But I just wanted you guys to see a couple things, how it handled it slightly better than stock. This climb right here, it wouldn't even do stock. Couldn't do this really, and I was able to get it. You know, it took me a little bit of time, but I was able to get this now that we have these mods. This really surprised me going down this. This is pretty steep, and the fact that it was able to just kind of slowly slide down that, very impressive. You know, normally stock form, I wouldn't even really attempt trying to go down that. I did try to go up it, and it had a pretty good start at going up this in stock form. But with the mods, it was able to get it done. You can see it still takes a little bit of the right hit. I'm not going to lie and say this thing walked right up this first try. It did take me a few tries, but you can see there in high gear, I got up it. And the cool thing with these things, high gear is good enough that you can go ahead and crawl a little bit when you get up something like that. You know, a lot of times you got to hurry up and switch to low because you can't crawl at all. High gear in these does pretty well, you know, and you can see coming down that, that's very steep. I barely made it, but I did make it. And I don't think I pulled that one stock. I'm not 100% sure, but if I did, I really just had to gun it to get down it. So I'm very pleased with how this is performing. You'll see in a minute a couple of the other lines I run. It's just performing so much better with these few little mods, and I'm really enjoying this thing. I can't wait to kind of start scaling it out a little bit now that I kind of got it, you know, pretty much where I want it as far as performance goes. I'm not going to put a ton into this. Maybe we'll go brushless if a certain Fury Tech wants to hook us up. You know, I feel like their system would fit perfect in this. So we may check that out soon. But for now, you know, I'm pretty set on it. And I'm very happy with how it's performing. There's a couple of spots. Going up this next hill here, you'll see it wouldn't even really get started up this in stock form. And I thought I could get it kind of going over the rock here. But I still couldn't quite just get over the rock. But kind of going to the side of it, the thing just walks up this. And this is kind of loose. You know, that sand makes it loose and you spin a lot. Usually these better tires, the more weight holding the traction down. Just, man, look at that. It walked right up it. Very pleased with that one. So I think you can see this thing is performing quite a bit better with just some very basic easy bolt-on mods for the most part. I made the shock mounts, whatever. But I really love the balance this thing has. It has the good looks. I'm going to start scaling it out a little bit. It's going to add to that. Probably lose a little performance. But just the fact that it is so good underneath. I really love my high trail TRX 4M, but the base truck underneath that thing is not very good. I really got that for the body and just had to focus on doing a lot to get it to perform well. The electronics kind of stink. Slow crawl is terrible, that sort of thing. So in my opinion, this is really the only way to go for a trail truck in the 18th scale. And I can't wait. Hopefully FMS is going to do this with some of their other trucks that they've offered in the past. This is by far the best really FMS release in the small scale stuff yet, in my opinion. So you guys let me know what you think about it. I'll link everything I used in the description. If you guys use that, it helps out the channel. If you don't, it's cool. I don't care. I just hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully you got something out of it and it helps you spend your money in the right place. That's what I'm here for. I appreciate you guys, every single one of you. Peace.